Hello children, let us start our next topic from the lesson Force and Laws of Motion. Last video we had talked about inertia, types of inertia, then we had talked about momentum also, and also we had talked about Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion states that force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. In this video, we are going to do mathematical formulation of second law of motion. So how can we derive a formula from Newton's second law of motion, that is mathematical formulation of Newton's second law of motion. So suppose children, an object of mass m is moving with us along a straight line with certain initial velocity, say u. You have to write, if this question comes in the exam, that to write the mathematical formulation of Newton's second law of motion, you have to start the same way as I have written here. What you have to write? You need to write, suppose an object of mass m is moving in a straight line with certain initial velocity u. It is uniformly accelerated to velocity v in time t. It will definitely take some time when its velocity will change. It is accelerated. From that velocity, we concluded that the acceleration was uniform. So, it is uniformly accelerated to velocity v in time t by application. How the velocity has changed? You know that for the change in velocity, we need a force with a constant force F throughout the time t. When we applied the force F for the time t, then the velocity has changed from u to v in a uniform motion, uniform acceleration, and for time t. Now, if this is the situation, what is the initial momentum? Momentum is the product of mass and velocity. So, initial momentum will be equal to, that is P1, that is equal to mass of the object, and initial velocity, that is mu. Final momentum of the object, that is P2, is equal to m into v. Because v is the final velocity, mass of the object is same, it will not change. Now, what is the change in momentum? Change in momentum is P2 minus P1. P2 is the final momentum and P1 is the initial momentum. So, change in momentum will be equal to P2 minus P1, that is equal to mv minus mu. Or if I take m common, then I get m into v minus u. Now, the rate of change of momentum, that is change in momentum upon time taken. That means how much time it has taken to change the momentum. Change in momentum upon time taken. That is change in momentum is this, mv minus u, and time taken is t. So this is our equation 1. But we know that v minus u upon t, this is equal to a. From where we got this? We got this from first equation of motion. But v minus u upon t is equal to a. So what do I get? I get rate of change of momentum is equal to m into a. Now, according to Newton's second law of motion, rate of change of momentum is proportional to force applied. This is only second statement of second law of motion. So, rate of change of momentum is ma. Ma is proportional to f, or f is proportional to ma, directly proportional to ma. That means, if I have to remove this proportionality, then I have to apply a constant, use a constant which is known as constant of proportionality. Here we have used as small k, which is known as k is the constant of proportionality. Now, if f is 1, m is 1, a is 1, in that case k will also be 1. Or let us put the value of k in our equation 2. This is our equation 2. Now put the value of k in equation 2, we will get f is equals to k's value is 1. 1 into m into a, we got f is equal to ma. It states that force acting on a body is the product of mass and acceleration. This is the mathematical formulation or formula of Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion, children, states that rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. This is R. Now, SI unit of force is Newton. But how we got Newton? F is equal to ma. Just now we have derived ma mass, SI unit of mass is kg, SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. So F is equal to kg meter per second square. Instead of writing such a long expression or such a long unit for force, this smaller name, that is Newton, has been given. So this is how we get the unit of force as Newton. I'll repeat this once again, children, how to do this. First, we are going to write, suppose an object of mass m is moving along a straight line with certain initial velocity u. Then it is uniformly accelerated to velocity v in time t. How it will accelerate? With the application of a constant force F for the time period t, for the time t. When we did such type of thing, suppose the initial momentum of the object, that is P1, is equals to mu. Final momentum of the object, that is P2, is equals to mv. What is the change in momentum? We'll go step by step. How we are going to reach to rate of change of momentum. Now change of momentum. Change in momentum is equals to P2 minus P1, that is mv minus mu, or if we take m common, then we get m into v minus u. Now what is the rate of change of momentum? Rate of change of momentum is equals to change in momentum upon time taken. So change in momentum is m common, v minus u, and upon time taken, that is t. So here we got rate of change of momentum is equals to m v minus u upon t. But one thing, v minus u upon t is equals to a. How? From first equation of motion. So we got rate of change of momentum is equals to m into a. Now Newton's second law of motion states that rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. So in this case, F or ma is directly proportional to F, or F is directly proportional to ma. Now let us remove this sign, proportional sign. How? By using the constant of proportionality, which is known as k. Now how to get the value of k? If we consider, suppose force applied was 1 unit and mass was also 1 unit and acceleration was also 1 unit, then the value of k is 1. If we take the value of k as 1, by applying the value of k in equation 2, we get F is equals to 1 into m into a, that is F is equals to ma. This is the formula, or you can say mathematical formulation of Newton's second law of motion. It states that force acting on a body is the product of mass and acceleration. This is the mathematical formulation of second law of motion. Now children, like we had talked about the applications of Newton's first law of motion, like those are the applications. Like I had given you the example, when the brakes are applied suddenly to a bus in which you are sitting, you tend to fall forward. The reason, there was the application of Newton's first law of motion. There, like in case of inertia, there are 3 types of inertia. All those are the applications of Newton's first law of motion. Similarly, we have the applications of Newton's second law of motion also. It is given in the book also. So let us recall those. Let us, do those applications of Newton's second law of motion. We'll start that now. So children, let us start the applications of Newton's second law of motion. First application is catching a cricket ball. It means how we apply this, or you can say where do we, application means where do we use Newton's second law of motion in our everyday life. While catching a cricket ball. How? While catching a cricket ball, a player lowers his hands down. What is the reason behind lowering his hands back? The reason behind is that when a player lowers his hands down, he gives the time to the ball to reduce its velocity. Like when the ball is coming down, when you are away, it will take greater time instead of if you catch here. When you lower your hands away, that means you are giving the time to the ball. By giving the time to the ball means slowly the velocity of the ball will, you will increase the time for the velocity of the ball to come to 0. If you suddenly catch the ball here at this level or at this level or at this level, then what will happen? You are not giving the time to the ball to reduce its velocity. Reduce its velocity means to reduce its velocity to 0. When you catch, if the ball was moving, that means it is coming with certain velocity, but when you catch, its velocity has become 0. When you catch it here, the velocity of the ball has come to 0 suddenly. And if you catch, if you increase the distance, or then what will happen? You increase the time period for the velocity of the ball to come to 0. Then what will happen if you increase the time for the velocity of the ball to come to 0? If you increase the time, that means the ball's velocity will slowly come down to 0 and you have to apply less force to catch the ball. If you suddenly catch the ball, then what will happen? It will decrease the time period for the rate of change of momentum. If the rate of change of momentum will be decreased, that means in that case what will happen? If you I'll explain you, children, wait. When we catch a cricket ball, then what happens? The velocity is coming with the velocity, certain velocity, and when we catch it, its velocity becomes 0. When we catch it at this level, the velocity of the ball obviously becomes 0 at this point also, but the time for the velocity to come to 0 from certain point to 0, the time is less. But when we give it more time, the impact of that ball on our hands is less. Why it is less? Because the rate, if we will not give the time to the ball to reduce its velocity, we have to apply the greater force. If we have to apply the greater force, in that case we may get injury, or the player may get injury on his hands. Now in second case, in case of high jump, an athlete is made to jump on a sand bed or a cushion bed. Why the athlete is made to fall on a sand bed or the cushion bed? Again the same thing only, same reason only. To reduce the impact of the force. If the player is made to fall on the cemented floor, then what will happen? Suddenly the velocity of the player will come to 0 suddenly. If it comes to 0 suddenly, in that case, the rate of change of momentum would be greater. If rate of change of momentum is greater, the impact of the force will also be greater. If the impact of the force is greater, the player may get hurt. Similarly, the use of seat belts in the car. The use of seat belts in the car is, what is the use? The use of when we apply the brakes or there is an accident, in case of an accident, when the velocity of the car, you tend to fall forward. When the bus or the car stops suddenly, you tend to fall forward. But your seat belts increase the time of your fall. You do not fall suddenly in the forward direction. The seat belt stops you going forward. Stops you from going forward suddenly. In this case again, what happens when the seat belts, the rate of change of momentum is decreased because of the seat belts. Therefore, the impact of the force is also decreased due to the presence of the seat belts. These are the three applications. Children, I will call all these three things. By catching a cricket ball, a player lowers his hands down. He does so in order to give time to the velocity of the ball to come to zero. He gives time for the velocity of the ball to come to zero. If he suddenly tries to catch the ball, then he has to apply greater force. If he has to apply greater force, in that case he may get hurt. The same case is here. An athlete is made to jump on a sandbag or a cushion bed, because the sandbag or the cushion bed will give little more time to the athlete to reduce its velocity to zero. These two things, sandbag or the cushion bed, these two things increases the time for the velocity to come to zero. If the time increases for the velocity to come to zero, that means the rate of change of momentum is decreased. If the rate of change of momentum is decreased, that means force is decreased. If the force is decreased, that means the impact of that fall will be less on the athlete. Use of seat belts. So same is the use of seat belts. If there are no seat belts and brakes are applied suddenly when we are sitting in a car, we tend to fall forward suddenly. Our velocity from certain point to zero comes in a very short interval of time. If our velocity earlier, suppose it was car was moving with a velocity of 20 meters, and now the brakes have been applied, that means the velocity has reduced to zero. That means from 20 to 0. From 20 to 0. If the car takes 10 seconds, that means, or if the car takes 5 seconds. So there is a difference. In this case, the time is being increased. If the time is increased, that means force is being reduced. Time is increased, the force is reduced. That means rate of change of momentum is also decreased, hence force is also decreased. So children, because this is the formula, force is proportional to mv minus u upon t. In this case, these are inversely proportional. If time increases, force decreases. Or I can write it like this. This equation can be written when I add these two, I get this. This is how time is inversely proportional to force. In this case, the time of the ball is increased for its velocity to come to zero. If time is increased, that means force will be less. The force is decreased. Same is the case here. In this case also, we give the athlete little time to reduce its velocity to zero. If the time is increased, that means force is decreased. Same is the case in case of seat belts of the car. Time for the velocity to come to zero is increased. That means the impact of the force is being decreased. These are the three applications of Newton's second law of motion. Now children, we have to do one more thing from this topic, that is how to derive Newton's first law of motion from its second law. We'll do that and then I'll finish off the topic. Now children, let us start Newton's first law of motion from second law of motion. From second law of motion. We had derived the formula of Newton's second law of motion, that is F is equals to ma. Just now we had done the derivation. Or I can write it in this way, A is equals to B. A is equals to B minus U upon T from first equation of motion. This. Or I can write it, if I take T this side, what will I get? I get F into T is equals to MV minus MU. If I open this bracket, I get it this way. Or suppose, if we are not applying any external unbalanced force, or if F is 0, in that case, 0 into T is equals to MV minus MU. That is 0 is equals to MV minus MU. Now if I bring mu this side, this will also again become positive. Mu is equals to mv. Suppose mass is same, or I can write it like this: u is equals to v. If u is equals to v, it means that the object is moving with certain initial velocity. If the object is moving with certain initial velocity, it will keep on moving with that velocity only until an external unbalanced force is applied on it. This is Newton's first law of motion. This was the statement, I think. Or, children, or if u is equals to 0, then v is equals to 0 also. That means if the object is at rest, it will remain at rest. This is only Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion states that an object tend to remain at rest or tend to remain in state of rest or of motion. If it is at rest, it will remain at rest. If it is in motion, it tends to remain in motion. Till when? Until an external unbalanced force is applied. That means if we apply the force, then only the state of rest or of motion will change. If we will not apply any force, the state of rest or motion will not be changed. This is how we derive Newton's first law of motion from Newton's second law. This is how we do this derivation. This is also important, children. Now, from your examination point of view, your derivations are very important. So you have to derive mathematical formulation of Newton's second law of motion, and then you also have to learn this. That is how we derive first law from Newton's second law of motion. That's all, children, for today's class. And children, next first week of August, I am going to have your practice test. And syllabus I'll let you know. I'll write the notice and I'll post it on your this group. I'll send a message in the group regarding your practice test. I'm talking about practice test. I'm not talking about assessment test. Okay.